So, there's a pretty fair chance that you're just starting out in this game twisted. I mean, it's definite that it's a fair chance because they just added Xbox support to the game, meaning that there are going to be a lot more players. And just to put it into perspective, the game before Xbox support used to average at about 90 players at once, and now it's averaging over 400 players at once. So the game's average player count almost quadrupled. So that's why I'm making this beginner's guide. So everybody's gonna start off with this crappy beater for a truck. It's the Chevrolet 454 SS, and actually you can do a lot of upgrades to this. However, you're probably gonna want to get rid of it pretty much instantly because this truck has absolutely horrible gas mileage, and it is the slowest car in the game, topping out at 90 mile an hour. However, it does do 25 mile an hour on grass, 90 mile an hour on asphalt, and then I'm not exactly sure about the dirt road. It also has very bad acceleration, and I mean, it starts off in this ugly green color that I doubt the average person likes. So, there is a couple things that you can do to make this truck actually good. Number one is you're going to want to go into the dealership. You can have the truck here, and pretty good looking, I'd say so myself. And you want to go to your garage since you already start off with the truck, or it's free or something. So you won't be able to just attach it. You have to purchase it, but there is a lift kit for this. And then adding the lift kit makes the truck raised, obviously. It looks much better already, and then you can go back into the dealership garage, and then you can get a mesonet for the vehicle, and now it'll look like this. And what the mesonet does is basically just makes the truck practical for storm chasing. Instead of it just being this normal crappy truck, it now has instruments to record wind speeds on top of your car, and that is extremely helpful to have because if you're in a storm right next to a tornado, you want to not get flung. And just for you to know, the maximum wind threshold for pretty much every car that you can get from the dealership is 95 miles per hour. And oh yeah, you can choose between these colors, and if you get the any color Game Pass or whatever it's called, you can choose between any hue you want to get the perfect color for your pickup. And also, the extra colors will cost $750, and then the normal colors are going to cost also $750. And also, I just want to let you put it in perspective that you're going to want to buy a mesonet first, because if you don't have a mesonet, it's extremely hard to make money, because mesonet wind speeds is how you get money. If the mesonet is over, I think it's like 65 miles per hour, then you will start gaining money from the mesonet. But be careful. You can go inside some tornadoes, but other tornadoes could easily fling you like as far as a mile. And now that you've gotten this far and you want to start upgrading your chasing game, you can buy 3 probes for as much as $750. To buy probes, you're going to need to go into the Chaser warehouse, hit this probes button, and then choose between either one of these 3. They're all the exact same other than the shape and look, obviously, and then this one has no probe camera. And what you're going to want to do with the probes is put them in the path of a tornado, and then flee as fast as you possibly can so you don't die. And speaking of tornadoes, I haven't told you how to find them yet, so that's what we're going to tackle next. So, as you might be able to tell, this is the radar. It's a little bit buggy, it gets dark sometimes, but this is the radar of Twisted, and I'll show you what everything means, and if you don't really want to watch this, you can skip this part because there is a legend here. However, this light blue is light rain, and then this green is moderate rain, the yellow is heavy rain, the orange is very heavy rain, and then red is intense rain. And the purples and whites are the different intensities of each hail. And now there's the symbols. There is this symbol with 2 arrows that kind of looks like a recycling symbol. That means there is a mesocyclonic rotation. Basically, you can find any rotation up in the cloud in a hook, which I'll show you what a hook is. It's rotating action in the storm. And then all of these upside down triangles are the wind speeds of the tornado. This tornado would be anywhere less than 80 mile an hour. A yellow one of these would be anywhere less than 100 miles an hour. And if it were orange, less than 120. Red, less than 140. And then pink ones are greater than 140. And also a hook is a rotating sign on the storm. And I'll show you what that is by a simple arrow here. And also, now that you know how to use the radar, you might want to be able to tell what you can expect for the day. And that's where we're going to attack the thermodynamics section. So as you can see, there is a thermodynamics section here. You can see the wind speeds, which are currently moving northeast. That could say either north, northeast. I believe it can say east, but I'm not sure. It can say southeast or south. Just know, whenever you're being twisted, the tornado will never move west, even if the tornado warning box says it will. And now we have the actual thermodynamics over here, which is the forecasted thermodynamics and the current. So basically, the color that you can see here is the better the storm will be, or if you live in the path of it, the worse. As you might be able to assume, the red is the highest, and you always want something higher, except for humidity, but I'll talk about that later. Temperature, pretty straightforward, it's just temperature. Dew point is the temperature at which dew falls. Lapse rates and CAPE are something to do with instability. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but right now, 2,200 CAPE is about moderate. What you want for a good CAPE is somewhere around 3,000. For lapse rates, that'd be around 8. For dew point, that'd be around 80. And then for temperature, that'd be around 85. Now I'm going to talk about the humidity, which basically talks about your visibility in the storm. 72% humidity is right in the middle of it. You want a lower humidity because the higher the humidity is, the lower visibility you will have. And as you might be able to assume, the maximum humidity is 100% and the minimum humidity is somewhere around 45, I believe. Not exactly sure on that. So now that I've blabbered on about what you want to buy and the thermodynamics, now I'm going to get into the fun stuff, which is how to intercept the tornadoes. So for intercepting the tornado, you want to either place your probes in the path of the tornado and hope that the tornado doesn't shift and goes right over your probes, or you want to deploy your chaser vehicle right in the path of the tornado. But don't worry, if you're about to get the intercept and then the tornado lifts, they do have a chance to recycle. As you can see here, this tornado is currently lifting, but it definitely has the chance of touching back down again, as it probably will. And now as you can see there, the tornado has touched back down to the ground, so I can drive forward and try to get my probes in the path of this tornado. Also, I forgot to mention, whenever there is a tornado warning, you will hear the EAS alert for said warning. And also, you can see tornado warnings as these red polygons on the radar. So, now that we're in the path of the tornado, we're going to want to get our probes down, just like that. Now we're going to try to run, and hopefully get a successful attempt. And as you can see, the probes are collecting data, and you are gaining cash from it. However, the tornado is still kind of far from the probes, and I don't know if they're even going to make it there. However, you can see the max wind speeds that you got from the probe that you placed and the current wind speeds. So these are still gaining and still gaining money. So there isn't really... Oh, that tornado actually just went multi-vortex, so that's interesting. But the money made from each probe is displayed at the top, maximum wind speeds at the middle, and current wind speeds at the bottom. And you can view the probe camera if you are interested in seeing what is happening at the probes. And down here with these arrows, you can switch between each probe. So I did say that you have to run from the tornado as far as you can earlier. Well, you actually do want to stay kind of close to the tornado. Just make sure you're not in the path, because you do eventually have to go retrieve your probes. So now that you can see that each probe down here is still gaining wind speeds somehow, and it displays the money made at the top of each of them. I made around 1,900 for each probe, which is actually quite a lot, even for me, and I have the ×2 money Game Pass, and that's actually a perfect segue on Gamepasses. So the different game passes you can get are infinite fuel, which is pretty self-explanatory, 2x income, which basically just doubles the amount of cash you get. The starter pack, you get a free Ford Explorer and $10,000, and the Ford Explorer that you get does come with a Mesonet on it, so that is extremely helpful. Custom vehicle color, I explained that a little bit earlier. Basically what this does, you can customize the color of your vehicle to the exact hue you want it to be. The chainsaw you can get for 150 Robux, and then you can go cut any down trees that may be in the road, and then for each tree that you cut will give you 75 bucks, so it's at least okay for making money while there aren't any storms on the ground. Then there is the Skywarn Spotter Game Pass, which is this menu over here. It lets you determine which tornadoes are around. Like currently I would press just this one because that's just a normal tornado, or rather a cone shape, but there is no option for a cone shape. Then there is kind of assessing the damages, basically just saying what there is, and then there's the different sizes of hail. And then there's the National Weather Service, which is actually a brand new Game Pass. If you are in Hazleton at the National Weather Service station, then you can issue tornado warnings from the basement. However, if you are just on site, you can go to any area that the tornado might have hit and then assess the damages and determine whether it's EF0 through EF5. And then there's the Fire/EMS Game Pass, where basically you can go around in a fire truck, ambulance, or brush truck and just help any wounded people that may have been affected by said tornado. And then there's the different donations, which are basically just donations to help the creators, and they do not spawn tornadoes, they're literally just donations, self-explanatory. And then you can buy each quantity of money. 20 Robux will get you 1,000, 75 will get you 5,000, 125 will get you 10,000, 300 will get you 25,000, 525 will get you 50,000, and then 900 will get you 100,000. And keep in mind, all of these can be purchased more than once. So while I'm on the way to grab my probes, I'm going to talk about the different vehicles that you should be able to get. So obviously, you start off with the Chevy 454 SS. It's not a very good vehicle. The next car that you would want to get is either the Honda Civic, which has a top speed of 100 mile an hour, which is pretty decent, and however, it does have kind of slow acceleration speed. If you're focused more on the acceleration speed, you'd want to get the Subaru Forester, which has a top speed of, I think, like 95 miles an hour. And then once you have either one of those vehicles, you're gonna want to get a faster vehicle. Either the Dodge Charger, which is the fastest road vehicle, the Ford F-150, which is the fastest off-road vehicle. But if you're not really a Ford guy and care for Japanese trucks for whatever reason, you can always get the Toyota Tundra, which is the exact same top speed on dirt roads as the Ford F-150. So here are my probes. And now another mechanism of the radar is being able to see the past tornado tracks. If I go here, here's tornado number 1, just a little touchdown south of Hibbing. Tornado number 2 was this long tracked thing that was over here. And then tornado number 3 is what we just hit. And it seems like that I actually got a direct hit with my probes, so that was actually some pretty good placement. And now once you collect those, this menu at the bottom will go away, and then just keep in mind you will have to buy new probes after you use probes that make money. If you just place your probes and then pick them back up without doing anything to them, you will get them back. But if your probes make money, you will have to buy different ones. However, it's pretty good for the price anyway, because the probes, while they give you about $1,000 on a really good intercept, it's still very much worth the price, because they only cost $750 to buy 3 of them compared to the $3,000 that you might get. Or if you have the times 2 money Game Pass, it could be up to $6,000. And now, while the Honda Civic and Dodge Charger and stuff are cool and all, there's 100% cooler vehicles in the storm chasing warehouse that you can get that makes it much easier to chase the tornadoes and intercept them. So I've already showed you the warehouse where you can purchase the probes, but now there is the warehouse that's actually the same warehouse. Just click vehicles down here, and you'll see down here there's the Doghouse, Dominator 1, Tiv 1, Dominator 2, Dominator 3, Tiv 2, and Doppler on wheels. So the Doghouse is just basically a really high-end chasing truck that you use probes with. However, it just looks a lot cooler. And then there's the Dominator 1, which you might recognize if you watch any storm chasing show. What the Dominator 1 can do is drive up to the tornado and then lower its suspension so it gets picked up a lot harder. And then it has a mesonet on the back, so you can still gain money from it that way. And there's the Tiv 1, which is basically the exact same thing with just a little bit lower thresholds, and it takes a lot longer to deploy. The Dominator 2 is just the Dominator 1 with higher thresholds, and it looks cooler. Dominator 3 has higher thresholds and deploys a little bit faster, making it the fastest deploying vehicle in the game. Then there's the Tiv 2, which is the slowest deploying vehicle at the game, taking 30 seconds to deploy. It costs $300,000, but it has the highest threshold at 220 mile-an-hour wind speeds. And then there's the Doppler on wheels, which is basically just a mobile Doppler radar that can make the storm much more accurate. However, it is going to cost a pretty penny at $550,000, but it is for sure worth it because you get so much money from this vehicle, at least from what I heard, because, well, I can't afford it. And then there's the EMS Shop. However, you have to buy the Game Pass for this. I can't afford it, but I'm not going to purchase it because I want to keep my private server. And now there's this menu, which has two different things that you can... Now there's this menu, which has two different things that you can click on here. I'm going to do this one first, which basically just tells you what role you have. Right now, I'm selected as the civilian role. However, you can change it to the Storm Chaser role, which basically doesn't do anything except make your name blue. And then there's the NWS employee, which lets you choose a set of clothes, and then with this, you can now work in the... Now you can work with the NWS Game Pass. The emergency services is the same thing, except it's just for the EMS Game Pass. And then there's this, which is Convoys. I'm in a server alone, so... I can't really invite anybody. You can have up to 3 people in a convoy. However, it is extremely helpful because if you get a really successful intercept but your friend misses it, it will take half of your money and give it to your friend. However, that doesn't seem very successful to you, but it works vice versa as well. Now I'm just going to start spitting some random facts at you that might come in handy sometime in the future. This is actually kind of extremely rare. Well, not extremely, but this is kind of rare. The average day you will see in Twisted, the wind will be northeast. Marginal is the worst risk in the game. I don't care what you say. A TSTM would be better than chasing a Marginal. If you go to the dealership and then into Dodge, you can get Bill's truck from Twister. And it even has the Dorothy Pro over the back. If you buy one of these donations, the donation you will buy will pop up next to your name. If someone in the chat has a red name and then red text, that means they are a moderator. be on your best behavior if one of them are in the chat. Otherwise, to tell if someone is a moderator, they will have a hammer next to their name. Stop signs hitboxes are way too big and they're extremely easy to crash into, same with these normal speed limit signs. If you go in the settings menu, you can change your render distance and whitelist people to your vehicle. If your car is locked, then those people can get in anyway. You can turn off the graphic effects, storm sound effects. You can take off the camera shake, it's basically shaking of the camera when you get very close to the tornado. It's very handy for epileptic people, actually. You can turn off convoy invites as well. You can change it to the metric system if you live in Europe, and then there's a little bit of a guide here. However, I find that quite useless, especially if you're watching this video right now. This city is called Hazleton. Everyone goes here. I'm not sure why. Everyone always just goes to the gas station when there's nothing to do. This is what a tornado siren looks like. If you see this in the middle of the road, just know that's why it turned off. If you're ever bored, you can do this. If you get picked up by a tornado, your character will ragdoll. Sometimes if you fall to the ground too hard, your wheels will go up inside your car like this. Not sure exactly why this happens, but it does. This is somehow possible. My hair got affected by inflation and is now worth over 200% of the price it originally was. That's the end of this video.